we're the ADvengers. I'm Ashley.
I'm Steven.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Taylor. And I'm Allison.
So a while ago, we were given the task of creating a strategy that would improve the perceptions of rock climbers in Central Texas so that they can gain and sustain access to rock climbing areas for recreational purposes. So today we're going to talk to you about our research and how that research led us to further understand the actual problem. Steven's going to talk to you about our SWOT analysis, and then finally we're going to tell you who we're talking to, what we're going to say, and how we're going to do it. So the first part of our research started, square one was our interview with Joel, and he kind of confirmed our goal of expanding rock climbing in Texas. And when we asked him what the problem was and why rock climbers were having a hard time gaining access to certain areas, he told us that it's because people have negative perceptions of rock climbers, or of rock climbing in general. Government officials, they don't like the idea of liability. Most importantly, we kind of discovered that they have a negative perception of the climbers themselves, not so much climbing. Joel actually told us that there have been some cases where organizations tried to pay the liability and they still weren't allowed access. So we kind of really took that to mean it wasn't so much about how the sport is dangerous about the sport, it's more about the climbers themselves, like the actual people. According to Joel, a lot of people, especially government officials, view rock climbers as these crazy adrenaline junkies who are very destructive and kind of like party animals. So that's the biggest stigma that we realized that we needed to overcome. Thankfully, fortunately, Joel also told us that CTM is very heavily involved in volunteering, so that kind of gave us a silver lining of something that we could work with.
So our second interview was with Kevin Good. He's the Special Assistant to the Director for Texas Parks and Wildlife. And a few insights that we gained from Kevin were that about the decision makers. They actually are decision makers across several levels in city, state, and municipal levels. And usually a decision to allow rock climbing happens in collaboration with several agencies. And another insight that we learned from him was that across all agencies, the main goal is for conservation. And so the problem occurs when some government officials perceive rock climbers as destructive. And so this is in conflict with their main goal to preserve the natural resources in Texas.
So we also conducted a focus group online via Facebook with 8 male college students or recent graduates. They're located in Texas, mainly Austin and El Paso, as well as Colorado and California. And we have some general rock climbing questions and some specific questions about government views and public views on rock climbing. And they said that they enjoy rock climbing because it's a fun, fulfilling, and challenging full body workout. And they believe that the public sees them as adrenaline junkies and the government sees them as reckless trespassers who would also damage the environment as well. And this goes with the stigma that they carry. And they also believe that safety and conservation are the 2 main reasons why government will not allow rock climbing access to various areas. And with the exception of one participant, no one has really participated in any volunteering event or petition related to rock climbing.
So another method that we used was a survey. We posted it to the Central Texas Mountaineers Facebook, as well as on the rock climbing community Facebook page. And while we did get a few really interesting perspectives from these rock climbers, we only had a couple participants. So while we thought it was interesting, we didn't really use it to form our strategy because we didn't feel like the data was generalizable. So to gather more research, we used observation. And I actually went out to the Greenbelt near the 360 and NOPAT entrance. And it was a beautiful Saturday, and so there were about 20 people rock climbing. I observed groups between 2 and 5, and there was wide age range. There was a father and a daughter, couples, siblings, friends, as well as a family of 5 with their infant daughter. There was also a wide range of skill level that day. There was a guy with 20 years experience rock climbing, as well as another guy whose friends took him rock climbing for the first time that day. So a couple of things that I overheard or learned while talking to these rock climbers is that they love the physical challenge. They said that the most fun routes are also the most challenging. They also use rock climbing for exercise, as well as quality family and friend time. And I noticed a real communion and camaraderie between these rock climbers, even between the ones who had never met before that day.
And so, gathering all of our information together, we compiled a SWOT analysis. And so, for those of you unfamiliar, it stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so the internal factors, which are the strengths and weaknesses, deal with things that are within your control that you can change. And so the strengths that we found while looking through your web presence and through all of our research is that you have an established Facebook presence, you do have likes, you do have people contributing regularly. You also have volunteer activities. I looked at your Facebook album where you rehab the hiking trail, and so you guys are involved in things like that. And you actively strive to have a minimal impact, leave no trace style of hiking and climbing, which is important based on public perception that mountain climbing is damaging to the environment. And also, we've also found that not just in Central Texas Mountaineers, but groups of rock climbers are very passionate and active in their organization. Some view them as their second family. So we can play on that with the organizational strength to our advantage. However, we found that the official CTM website does lack recent content. We found a lot of dead links, and the event pages had not been completely updated. And we also found that although you do have people contributing to your Facebook page, the majority of the posts are done by the community and not by a Central Texas moderator. And so we could perhaps down the road look at how we can improve our presence there. And also we have a limited budget and we rely on volunteer workers, so we have to remember to keep our ideas in the realm of reality. And so with those internal factors, we now turn our attention to the external factors. And so looking at the statistics based on the population of Texas, about 200,000 people in the state of Texas rock climb. It's a big group. And we've also found lots of flattering articles about mountain climbing, especially as people begin to focus more on their health. I've read several that say, why use a treadmill when you can go rock climbing? Or why go to the gym when you can go to a climbing wall, or better yet, go out in nature? So people are beginning to take notice, and because mountain climbing is still kind of viewed as a niche activity, there's a lot of room for growth because it hasn't really gone full mainstream yet. So if we can gather more people into what you do, your voice gets louder. And so threats, as we've already discussed, mountain climbers have this false perception, as we saw through observational data, that they're seen as party animals, adrenaline junkies, the same league as cliff divers. They're viewed as environmentally damaging, that they leave their trash and their litter everywhere. And another big thing that we found that scared a lot of people, there's a lack of legal precedent about how a liability case would be handled. And so a lot of landowners are very wary of opening themselves up to the great unknown. And so with that, we'll begin discussing who to decide to target.
Right, so we determined that our main goal was to increase accessible rock climbing areas in Texas. And so we decided that the most efficient way to do that, to accomplish our goal, is to target the decision makers who can influence that decision and allow rock climbing in different parks in Texas. And so we found that there are 3 different levels of decision makers. So the first level is park rangers and superintendents. They are hired officials who are concerned with enforcing park rules and upholding park maintenance. And so we find that it's really important to foster a good relationship with these park rangers and superintendents because they have a direct influence outdoor activities such as fly fishing and ranching, but unfortunately none of them are proclaimed rock climbers, which would make it a lot easier for our goal if they were. But we learned from our research, especially our interviews with Kevin and Joel, that in order to increase our access to rock climbing in Texas, it's important to have a good relationship with all levels of government officials in order to accomplish our goal.
So based on all of these things, we needed to come up with a creative strategy that would speak to people on all levels, and that would be something that would be effective and strong. And so in order to do that, we looked at all our research and analyzed the things that people told us. And one thing that we noticed was that it was all more or less the same depending on what side you were on, whether you were with the decision makers or if you were a rock climber. It was all about balance, and it was about balancing the risk with the reward. So if you're a climber, it's about climbing and challenging yourself and being risky in a way that makes you, feeds that feeling as a human nature, but also the reward side of it, of accomplishment and that type of thing. And then for the decision makers, it's about balancing the risk between allowing access to these lands and overcoming the misconceptions of rock climbers and the sport itself, and balancing with the reward of opening up the land and having more people celebrate the land and use the land for what it's for. And we decided that this was probably an effective way of doing this because it's the way life is. You balance risk, you balance reward, and then you have success. And so we decided that to do this, this would be the most effective way to change perceptions of people if it was applicable to all different walks of life, not just rock climbing and not just the Tornado Valley. And so we decided that we would hold hold an event, and we would also have a mail out packet, because the biggest, I think, barrier, or we decided, was miscommunication and misperception, and ignorance breeds fear. And so if we were getting the information out there and we were helping people to understand both sides of what was going on, that things would be much more successful overall for our campaign.
So one of our first recommendations would pretty much be for the Facebook page. Like Stephen said earlier, Central Texas Mountaineers already does a pretty good job of, as far as the members go, being active and posting things. We'd really like to encourage CTM to actually get more involved, like with a moderator or something like that, posting things, like asking the members questions, starting discussions, stuff like that, posting more pictures and stuff like that, because, like we said, like when we went out to, when Allison went out to view the rock climbers, it's not just the average person you think of. There's families, there's little kids, there's siblings, stuff like that. So the more pictures that we have up, the more easy that's gonna be for everyone to see, not just people who go out to these places. So obviously, we want them to post more updates about their events. Most importantly, we feel like CTM should be posting pictures and articles and stuff like that about their actual volunteer work, the good that they're doing, their park cleanup, stuff like that. That way when people are directed to the Facebook page, it is very clear and evident that CTM is doing good for the parks that they're allowed to climb in. And then next, we want to talk about updating the website. Like Stephen mentioned earlier, there are a lot of dead links that don't even work anymore. We feel like the website just hasn't really been worked with for a while. There wasn't a useful calendar. There was a calendar, but it didn't really have it. It had like Earth Day on it. Didn't really have anything as far as like when some events were going to be and stuff like that. So we would definitely want them to keep that updated. Once again, more pictures, more current pictures. And then we thought about rejuvenating a forum that way. The climbers would have somewhere to go online for a sense of community. They can start discussions. This is going to get them more involved, it's going to get them more excited, and it's going to allow them to understand what's going on, what the problems are, and how they can get involved and what they can do to help.
So our next execution is a fact pack. This is a mock-up of what we would want to send out ideally, or give out in person to government officials, but it could also be mailed out for convenience sake. So we would have meet Central Texas Mountaineers with their objectives and their background information, and then some contact information as well as there's also volunteer and conservation benefits that government officials can read about, so they know the good that CTM does for their parks and community. And then lastly, we also have frequently asked questions about rock climbing in general. So we will give various statistics about the safety of rock climbing if they're concerned about liabilities or the number of parks that are involved with CTM. And finally, we would also have an invitation to an event that Taylor will later talk about. And this is mainly to give a great first impression to government officials and to inform them of balancing the risks with the rewards. And we would also post this information online for whoever wants to download it.
The event would be held at Reimers Ranch. We decided that an event would be a fast and easy way to get a positive perception of rock climbers out there and to introduce government officials, decision makers, their friends and family, whoever they want to invite to come with them to what rock climbing is, what it's really about. And so to start that dialogue between the decision makers and the rock climbers about what the situation really is. And so people would come out to the park and spend a day picnicking, climbing. There would be info sessions, all types of things like that, just so that people would be in a place where they could all understand together. The event would be sponsored by REI, Cliff Bar, and Texas Rain, which is a water company that boasts biodegradable bottles, and so it would keep in line with the earth-friendly protection type of theme that we wanted to keep. And then to incentivize people to come, because a lot of the government officials have never done something like this before, we would do a give a day, get a day. So if they would come out to the park, then CTM would send people to clean up their park, whichever park they choose. And so that would be the event, and that we felt would help balance fear and reward and start that dialogue between the two groups.
And so with that, I would like to thank you for your time. And we here at the ADvengers hope that Central Texas Mountaineers will be willing to join our team. Sorry that we didn't have a picture of you or had to put it on, but you're more than welcome on our team. So at this time, we'd like to open up the floor to any questions, and we